Here's something many people don't realize. You don't need an Investec private bank account to save with Investec. Their personal cash investments are available from 100,000 Rand and designed for capital preservation. In markets like these, having a low-risk cash component alongside equities is simply sensible, particularly if you're over 55.
Good morning. This is BizNews Daybreak. I'm Natie. Coming up, global market developments, the Natie Kirsh deal and what it says about South African capital abroad, Rob Hersov on the ANC and the country's trajectory, developments at Fort Hare, and Prince Mashele on the case for a different kind of leadership. We begin with the global backdrop. There's been steady movement across global markets overnight. Here are the news updates from our partners at Bloomberg.
President Trump said the war in Iran is very close to completion. Here's Trump during a rare primetime address.
We are going to finish the job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close. I want to thank our allies in the Middle East, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. They've been great, and we will not let them get hurt or fail in any way, shape, or form.
Trump also told allies who rely on the Strait of Hormuz for their oil supplies to take care of the passage.
They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on.
And Trump went on to say discussions with Iran are ongoing. Even so, he added the U.S. will hit Iran extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Oil prices are rallying after Trump's address. SpaceX has filed confidentially for an initial public offering. We're told the company submitted its draft registration to the SEC. It puts the company on track for a June listing with the aim of raising as much as $75 billion. We are told SpaceX could seek a valuation of more than $1.75 trillion. Here is Bloomberg's Anthony Hughes.
This really suggests that the deal is going full steam ahead, and I think all the body language we've seen in recent, even in just the last 2 or 3 days, we've seen a number of stories about different things that are happening around the deal, and it's really sort of indicated that it's full steam ahead, and everyone's pretty confident they can get this done actually by June.
That is Bloomberg's Anthony Hughes. Now, the SpaceX listing would make it the first of what could be a trio of mega IPOs ahead of OpenAI and Anthropic. The Trump administration is reportedly preparing to reshape its tariff policy on steel and aluminum. The Wall Street Journal reports levies of 25% will apply to the entire value of a finished product. That would replace the current 50% duty, which only applies to the value of steel or aluminum used in a product. The U.S. is lifting sanctions on Venezuela's acting leader Delcy Rodriguez. This move underscores Washington's push to stabilize that oil-rich nation and to re-engage diplomatically after the removal of Nicolas Maduro in a U.S.-backed operation in January.
Back home, several business developments from yesterday remain in focus. BizNews editor Alec Hogg looks at the sale of Natie Kirsh's Jetro business for around $29 billion, one of the largest offshore deals involving a South African, along with updates from Absa and Sasol. Here's more from Alec Hogg.
Well, the deal of the decade has hit the international media, and a South African is right in the middle of it. Natie Kirsh, who owns 70% of a private company called Jetro, has sold that company to a U.S. operation, Cisco, for $29 billion. That is 500 billion Rand, $500 billion. And so Natie is now comfortably the wealthiest South African. What is interesting about this was he sold his assets here in South Africa, which included Checkers, Russells, Dion, some of the other retail names that you'd know quite well, back in 1986, then focused all his attention on Jetro and has turned it into an absolute giant. The bottom line, well, it's a masterclass in value creation by a South African using South African homegrown techniques. And he has proved that our entrepreneurial pedigree can dominate on a global stage. Interestingly enough, the Cisco share price fell by 15%, which tells you what the market thought the winner was in this transaction. Take a bow, Natie Kirsh. Absa released its annual report today. This is the document where the new chief executive and the new chairman, Kenny Fiedler and Rene van Wyk, were able to express what their strategy is going to be going forward. Remember, they have been in the chairs for only about a year, and it does appear as though they're already working very quickly to get rid of non-core assets and look at new ways of achieving efficient productivity at Absa. The bottom line there, or the message in the annual report, reads as a ruthlessly pragmatic reset for the group. Shareholders should be reassured, but on the other hand, they'll probably say we've heard it all before. This time, however, it could be different. Rene van Wyk did serve for a brief period as the interim CEO. He's now the chair. Fiedler was the deputy CEO at Standard Bank and was poached across. So it does look as though they got the right team at last who are driving the ship at Absa. And finally for today, the stock that has been putting the broadest smile on shareholders' faces over the past few weeks, thank Donald Trump for his war in Iran, is Sasol, the oil from coal South African giant, which also has a major chemicals business in the United States. Well, it has raised a massive $750 million US. That's about 12.5 billion rand in international debt. But here's the interesting thing. These dollar bonds were snapped up by foreign investors. They were offered at an interest rate of 8.75%, and there were enough international investors interested that if Sasol had wanted to, it could have issued 4 times as many of the bonds that it did. Bottom line, it's a smart refinancing move. Sasol is trading in expensive old debt for cheaper new debt. Shareholders can feel reassured. It has secured long-term capital growth and proving that Sasol is appealing for international investors, not just those who invest here at home.
At the BizNews conference, outspoken South African entrepreneur Rob Hersov takes a direct view of South Africa's trajectory under the ANC. He argues that the country's structural challenges, particularly around governance and accountability, are unlikely to resolve without meaningful pressure on the current leadership. Here's Rob Hersov.
The issue that we need to look at is the world is a certain way. It has changed, as that was the thrust of what you were saying. And yet, the guys who run our business, our CEO, is acting as though it hasn't changed. What might it take? Do we have to go bankrupt first?
You have to go bankrupt first. I mean, it's like an addict, an alcoholic. Until they're crawling on the floor begging for help, they're not going to get well. And the ANC are still breaking and stealing, being funded by the likes of Iran. And they are run, as Prince Mashele said, the people to blame for Cyril to being in charge are 2 groups. The gangsters that are milking this economy dry, and the white corporate business people who backed Cyril for CR17. He said they should have starved the ANC of financial oxygen to get rid of him. So Cyril's got another year and a half. He doesn't care. He's going to go out. He's going to keep the status quo. And he's also too scared to tackle the bad guys. They own him. They've got photographs of him doing God knows what. They have files on him. He can't move. They're all compromised with each other. Nothing will happen until country goes bankrupt, there's civil unrest that turns against them, or the USS Abraham Lincoln does not go back home via the Suez, but heads down here and parks off Durban and Simonstown. That is the only way this place will change. Quick.
Many of the people here, I know who's here, they have enormous power, huge power. within their own organizations. Entrepreneurs, self-made people, they have a massive circle of influence within their own environments. What are they supposed to do under this environment?
Well, it would be nice for them to speak out more publicly and just say what happened in the Zondo Commission. Say it is unacceptable. The ANC continues to run this country with all these charges hanging over its head and all the metrics you could ever list: education, power, state-owned enterprises, corruption. All the evidence is there. Speak out. Speak out.
Also at the BizNews conference, political analyst Prince Mashele argues that reform within the current system may not be enough. His view is that meaningful change could require a new political project, led by individuals with the skills, credibility, and resources to take it forward. Here's Mashele.
But you see, it is people like me and people like you who must get out of the comfort zone and now go into politics. So, who implements it? It is the highly educated among blacks and the highly educated among whites who must implement this. The president, this country is a majority black country, must be a competent and credible black person. The deputy president for the first time since 1994, if we are serious about this project, must be a competent and ethical white of the party and of the state. We must inspire both. And when I say black, I also include coloreds and I also include Indians. So how do we do it? Let's put together this group. Number one, I would be willing to be part of that group. Number two, and by the way, the list is there. I can tell you the list is there. Number two, and this is the biggest challenge. So I will be willing to contribute my life. It's a life-changing thing. My life will be on the line. I could be killed. The ANC thugs are not going to fold their arms. So the biggest donor, if I go into it, it will be me. Secondly, those with money must contribute money because politics is expensive. If you want to do this thing on a massive scale, different from Rise Muzanzi, Bossa, and the Little Mickey Mouse project, you have to do it massively. It's money. So the question is, I am prepared to contribute my life. Are you prepared to contribute your skills and your money? That is the question. And when I talk to some of you, you are very worried that this thing is going to destroy the DA. No, that's not the point. The point is to replace the ANC component in government with a proper group of qualified, trained South Africans. If you don't do that, the DA, let me tell you, forget what Helen was telling you. The DA will never be the government of South Africa if you don't do what I'm telling you about. Look at the numbers. The DA now has 23% of the national vote. If you actually analyze the numbers, the ANC actually hasn't shifted because the ANC is the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa, is Umkhonto weSizwe, is the ANC, is the EFF, is the ANC. That gives you 63%. The DA has never made any mark, and it will not make a mark. So the next move is the team, money, technical expertise, and strategy, and a serious, massive plan.
And finally, developments involving two of the most prominent figures in global business. Warren Buffett and Bill Gates appear to have distanced themselves amid renewed scrutiny around Gates' past association with Jeffrey Epstein, an issue that has brought questions of judgment and governance back into focus. Here's more about that from BizNews editor Alec Hogg.
We're currently witnessing the icy conclusion of one of the most celebrated partnerships in modern business history, the once celebrated bond between Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. According to a sweeping report published yesterday by Fortune magazine, the relationship between the titans has fundamentally fractured. The retired Berkshire Hathaway CEO said that it's been radio silence between him and Gates since Gates' involvement with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein became clearer earlier this year, and that followed the US government's release of millions of pages of Epstein-related documents. Speaking to CNBC in an interview published this week that included Buffett's first public comments on the Epstein files, the Oracle of Omaha confirmed the distance between the two. He said, "I haven't spoken to him at all since the whole thing was unveiled." Consequently, Buffett added that he did not want to say much on the topic, quote, until things are resolved, unquote. To truly grasp the magnitude of the falling out between Buffett and Gates, we have to look back at how this legendary alliance began. Fortune reports that the friendship between the two, who were for much of the time the world's richest men, began in 1991. Although Buffett and Gates later said they weren't particularly excited to meet each other, they hit it off immediately, leading to a decades-long friendship and close collaboration on the Gates Foundation and the Giving Pledge, which the duo founded with Melinda French Gates. But the ecosystem that they built is fracturing. French Gates left the Gates Foundation in 2024. Bill Gates left the Berkshire Hathaway board of directors in 2020 after 16 years. The following year, 2021, after Gates had announced his divorce, Buffett stepped down from the Gates Foundation's board, saying his physical participation was no longer needed for the foundation to reach its goals. The final decisive blow, though, is financial. Although Buffett has reportedly donated nearly half of the Gates Foundation's funding, about $43 billion, he told the Wall Street Journal in 2024 that no more of his money would be donated to the foundation following his death. Although he didn't elaborate as to why he'd made that decision to cut off the Gates Foundation after he died, Buffett said most of his remaining wealth will now go to a charitable trust overseen by his daughter and two sons, whom he says he trusts completely. When the Oracle of Omaha speaks of complete trust, the business world pays attention.
And that's the BizNews Daybreak for this morning. I'm Natie. I would like to wish all of you a happy Easter long weekend. It may be a good moment to step back slightly from the noise, even if the underlying issues don't take a break. Thanks for listening. We'll keep you updated as things develop. Cheers.
When it comes to savings, we spend a lot of time discussing returns and interest rates, but not enough time asking why we're saving in the first place. That's the thinking behind Investec's #What'sYourWhy campaign that's been running. If your goal is stability or peace of mind, their personal cash investment is accessible from 100,000 Rand, and you don't need to bank with them. Whatever your reason for saving, Investec understands that.